The air in the grand ballroom of the Beaumont Hotel was thick with the scent of lilies and unspoken expectations. Ella Vance, radiant in her grandmother's lace gown, felt her heart thrumming like a trapped bird. Today was the day, the culmination of a whirlwind romance with Michael Sterling, a man who had charmed her off her feet with promises of forever. Her bridesmaids, a gaggle of nervous excitement, fussed with her veil, their whispers a gentle counterpoint to the string quartet playing a classical overture. Outside, a gentle spring rain kissed the cobblestones of the city, mirroring the bittersweet tremor in Ella's stomach. It wasn't exactly nerves, more like a faint echo of unease she'd stubbornly ignored. The unease had started subtly, a missed call here, a vague excuse there. But Michael was busy, a rising star in tech, always on the verge of his next big deal. Ella, a diligent but unassuming archivist at the city's historical society, had understood. Or so she'd told herself. She adjusted the delicate pearl bracelet on her wrist, a gift from Michael, feeling its cool weight. In just minutes, she would walk down that aisle, towards her future. The doors to the ballroom swung open. A hushed silence fell. Ella took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping the expectant faces, her parents beaming from the front row, Aunt Beatrice dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief. But her eyes searched for Michael, waiting for his familiar, reassuring smile at the altar. He wasn't there. A ripple of confusion spread through the guests. The music faltered. Ella's smile wavered, a cold knot tightening in her chest. She scanned the room again, a frantic hope clawing at her. Perhaps he was just delayed? Stuck in traffic? It was unthinkable, a nightmare unfurling in slow motion. Her father, sensing her distress, stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "Ella, dear, what's wrong?" Then, a hotel manager, face pale and harried, rushed towards them, clutching a crumpled note. He whispered something to Ella's father, his eyes darting to Ella with an expression of profound pity. The blood drained from Ella's face. She didn't need to hear the words. She saw them in her father's suddenly ashen complexion, in the manager's averted gaze. Michael was gone. He hadn't just been delayed. He had abandoned her. The note, when it was finally pressed into her trembling hand, was brief, devoid of emotion, a sterile betrayal. "Ella, I can't do this. I'm sorry." "Michael." No explanation, no further apology. Just those brutal words, slashing through her dreams. The lilies suddenly reeked of rot. The beautiful lace felt like a shroud. The world, once vibrant and full of promise, tilted violently on its axis. The next few hours were a blur of hushed condolences, whispered theories, and the agonizing weight of public humiliation. Ella retreated into herself, the pain of physical entity pressing down on her lungs, making it hard to breathe. The once grand ballroom became a tomb of shattered hopes. Every well-meaning touch felt like a prod, every sympathetic gaze, a judgment. She locked herself in her childhood bedroom that night, the white gown still clinging to her, a monument to her spectacular failure. The rain outside continued, mimicking the silent tears that finally, violently, racked her body. Michael Sterling, the man who had promised her everything, had taken it all and left her with nothing but a gaping wound and a future that felt terrifyingly, irrevocably, empty. Her internal world, once meticulously ordered and hopeful, had crumbled into a chaotic wasteland. How could she ever trust again? How could she ever rebuild? The questions hammered at her, echoing in the suffocating silence of her room. The years that followed Michael's betrayal were a harsh tutor. Ella, once vibrant and trusting, retreated into a cocoon of quiet solitude. She poured herself into her work at the Historical Society, finding solace in the dusty records and forgotten stories of the past. Her apartment became a sanctuary, filled with books and the quiet hum of her own company. Dating was a distant memory, a painful reminder of a vulnerability she vowed never to expose again. Her internal world, once meticulously ordered, was now a fortress, built brick by painful brick around her shattered heart. Yet, beneath the layers of cautious reserve, a stubborn ember of resilience flickered. She learned to enjoy simple pleasures, the quiet satisfaction of a well-researched article, the comforting weight of a hot cup of tea on a rainy afternoon, the thrill of discovering a forgotten historical detail. She was surviving, yes, but living felt like a foreign concept. Then came the email, a cryptic invitation to an exclusive, week-long retreat for historians and archivists on a remote, newly discovered island in the Pacific. It was an opportunity Ella would normally dismiss as too grand, too far outside her comfort zone. But something, a restless whisper in her soul she hadn't heard in years, urged her on. Perhaps it was the sheer isolation of the place, promising escape from the familiar haunts of her past. Perhaps it was the allure of uncovering entirely new history, a blank slate untainted by personal memory. She accepted, a nervous excitement mingling with her ingrained caution. The journey was long, a series of increasingly smaller planes and finally, a sleek, private yacht cutting through impossibly blue waters. The island, when it emerged from the shimmering haze, was breathtaking. Verdant green cliffs plunged into the sea, fringed by stretches of dazzling white sand. It felt ancient, untouched, a place where time itself might slow down. The retreat facilities were surprisingly luxurious, a testament to the anonymous benefactor who had funded the endeavor. On the third day, during a solitary walk along a secluded cove, Ella stumbled upon him. He was standing by a rocky outcrop, staring out at the horizon, a figure of striking elegance even in casual clothes. His dark hair was wind-tossed, and his profile, strong and aristocratic, seemed vaguely familiar. As he turned, their eyes met, and a jolt, sharp and visceral, shot through Ella. It was Michael, not the same Michael who had walked away from her on their wedding day. This man, while undeniably him, carried a different gravitas. Lines of experience etched around his eyes spoke of burdens and victories Ella knew nothing about. His gaze, once so easily dismissive, now held a deep, almost unsettling intensity as he looked at her. Ella's breath caught in her throat. The serene beauty of the island vanished, replaced by the dizzying sensation of the past slamming into the present. Her carefully constructed fortress wavered, the walls threatening to crumble. 1,000 questions screamed in her mind, but only one escaped her lips, a raw whisper carried on the ocean breeze. Michael? He didn't move, his eyes locked on hers, a complex mixture of shock and something unreadable swirling within them. The silence stretched, filled only by the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore. It was a silence louder than any explosion, a chasm between who they were then and who they were now. The world felt suspended, waiting for one of them to break the spell, to bridge the impossible gap that had formed between the abandoned bride and the billionaire on a desert island. The silence between Ella and Michael on the desolate beach stretched, each wave that broke against the shore amplifying the unspoken weight of 7 years. Ella's heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs, a drumbeat of old pain and new, terrifying curiosity. Michael, the architect of her deepest wound, stood before her, no longer a phantom in her nightmares, but a tangible, flesh-and-blood man. Finally, he broke the spell, his voice deeper, rougher than she remembered, yet undeniably his. Ella, I never thought I'd see you again. No, I imagine you didn't, Ella retorted, her voice trembling despite her efforts to steady it. It's usually quite inconvenient to run into the person you left at the altar, especially when you've apparently become a billionaire. The sarcasm was a shield, protecting the raw vulnerability beneath. A shadow crossed Michael's face. He stepped closer, his gaze earnest. Ella, I know nothing I say can excuse what I did. There was no good way to do it. But it wasn't because of you. He paused, searching her eyes. My company was on the brink of collapse. A huge deal had fallen through, and I was facing ruin, not just financially, but professionally. I was desperate. I thought I was protecting you from the fallout, from marrying a failure. Ella scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. Protecting me? By shattering my world? By making me a public spectacle? You stole my dignity, Michael, not just a wedding. Her voice cracked, the carefully constructed walls of her composure finally crumbling. Tears welled, blurring the impossibly blue horizon. Michael's eyes softened, filled with a regret so profound it seemed to etch itself onto his features. I was a coward, Ella. A fool. I let fear consume me. After I left, I worked nonstop, obsessed with rebuilding, with proving I wasn't that failure. And I succeeded, beyond my wildest dreams. But the wealth, it feels hollow without the kind of connection I threw away. Coming here, sponsoring this retreat, it was my attempt to find something real again. Something that wasn't about money or power. He reached out, his hand hovering, then gently touched her arm. I never forgot you, Ella. Not a single day. His touch, once a source of comfort, now sent a confusing current through her. It wasn't the searing pain she expected, but a faint, almost forgotten warmth. The man before her wasn't just Michael. He was a man who had clearly suffered, who carried his own burdens. This wasn't the same arrogant, ambitious young man. They spent the rest of the retreat talking, slowly, cautiously, under the vast, star-dusted sky. Michael spoke of the ruthless world of high finance, the loneliness of immense wealth, and the constant pressure to maintain his empire. Ella, in turn, shared her quiet life, her passion for history, and the long, arduous journey of healing and self-discovery she'd undertaken. There were moments of shared laughter, moments of uncomfortable silence, and moments where old wounds, once thought healed, throbbed anew. One evening, as the sun bled crimson into the ocean, Michael revealed the real reason he'd funded the retreat. I saw your name on the list of potential attendees, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I knew I had to come. This was my one chance, Ella, to face you, to beg for your forgiveness, to see if there was any spark left. A turning point. Ella looked at him, truly looked at him, not as the ghost of her past, but as a man scarred by his own choices, seeking redemption. The betrayal still hurt, a deep ache that might never fully disappear. But beneath the pain, a new emotion stirred, understanding. He wasn't just a villain. He was a flawed human being who had made a catastrophic mistake out of fear. And she, the abandoned bride, was no longer just a victim. She was a survivor, strong and independent. The final morning on the island dawned clear and bright. Michael stood by the yacht, waiting. Ella approached him, the white sand soft beneath her bare feet. I can't pretend the past didn't happen, Michael, she said, her voice steady. And I don't know what the future holds. But I'm not that same girl you left. And you're not the same man. He met her gaze, a profound hope dawning in his eyes. So what does that mean? Ella looked out at the vast, shimmering ocean, a symbol of the uncharted waters before them. It means, she said, a small, genuine smile gracing her lips, that maybe, just maybe, we can find out. They stepped onto the yacht, leaving the isolated island behind. The future was uncertain, full of potential pitfalls and the lingering echoes of a broken past. But for the first time in years, Ella felt a fragile, exhilarating sense of possibility. The love that had once shattered her world might not be rekindled, but a new path, built on understanding and a shared journey of growth, was beginning to unfurl. The bitter memories of the abandoned bride mingled with the nascent hope of a woman who had found herself, and perhaps, a new kind of connection on a desert island, leaving a bittersweet, yet profoundly hopeful, impact. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.